So D minor is the second arpeggio in C major. It's the second chord that can be derived from the C major scale. And since I can get that chord from the C major scale, I can also use the C major scale to get me a smooth line through a D minor chord. So if I play D minor at the piano, it'll be D, F, A, and C. And if I spread that out a little bit and play D and C in my left hand, F and C in my right hand, and I get a little bit more spread. So that gives me a nice sound to play through. Just trying to find some melodies. Those melodies are maybe similar to some of the melodies I've played before in my life, but I tried to practice right now playing a sound and a melody and seeing if I could follow that melody with something else that was related to it. Okay, so that's a way I'm going to practice to get used to playing the sound of C major scale against a D minor chord. The 9, which would be an E in this case, or let's take the note concert F. Let's take the note concert F. And remember back to when we were playing over a major 7 chord. The 4th in the key of C is F, and that's the note that really wants to move hard. And as I said in the book, you'll hear some people talk about that as an avoid note, which is something I absolutely disagree with. That is not a note to be avoided, it's a note to know it wants to move. So let's just look at the difference between that note concert F against this chord. So that's a D minor chord, and F is in the piano voicing. So that note is going to sound nice. The fact that the piano is playing that note in the voicing means it's supported and it doesn't need to go anywhere. If I play that same note against a C major 7, that note creates a lot of tension. It's the same note, the same key, but against this chord, it wants to move. It needs to resolve. See how happy the piano sounds once I've resolved that sound? Okay, so just remember against a D minor chord, that note is perfectly happy. It's fine to leave it. Okay, so we're in the same key, but because the chord is different, because the notes that are ringing at the piano are different, the notes that resolve the story are going to be different. Against a C major 7 chord, the note D is going to sound unresolved. In a D minor chord, the note D is going to bring the story home. Okay? Here's over D minor. The note I need to hear now is ah. the story comes to an end. Okay, so it's the same scale, but the notes have different weight because of the nature of the piano voicing. Okay, so sit at the piano. If you have a grand piano, fantastic, or access to one, that's the best way to go because of the vibrating strings. Play the voicing, see what you can hear for melodies, and see how the scale feels as it moves through the chord. Notice one last thing I don't think I mentioned earlier in the video. There's exactly one note between each chord tone in the key. So if I have, I'll take the simple voicing, D minor. If I travel through D minor, starting on D, using the C major scale, I have exactly one note between each chord tone. So that's another way to say that scale gives me a perfect balance of chord tones and non-chord tones as I move in time through the chord. Hope that's clear. Give it a practice. Send me an email if it's not.